Hello, Fantastic Beasts fans. I'm very excited to present to you today a theory that I've worked up in partnership with Bestiary, one of the earliest followers of this forum. Bestiary and I have an idea that we think gets to the heart of the series and of Albus and Gellert. I'm Susan Chappell with Fantastic Secrets Behind Fantastic Beasts to bring you the clues.
Join me and other Fantastic Beasts fans here on the Beast Chaser Forum as we uncover the secrets, discover what's coming first, and play along with Rowling's newest game. And make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification so you'll be notified when videos post and won't miss out on the next clues.
So today I continue my tradition of presenting a theory in one video and completely contradicting it in the next. Well, this one won't completely contradict my last, but will alter it dramatically. Actually, let's say it expands upon it, or digs in even deeper. I believe I was on the right track with my initial theory about Credence's relationship to Grindelwald, but didn't go quite far enough. With the help of Bestiary, this theory on exactly what Credence is and how he was born is beginning to take shape. For as Bestiary says, the biggest question surrounding Credence may not be who he is, but what he is. As I was getting at before, Credence seems to, in essence, be born of the love between Gellert and Albus. I believed he may have been formed from Gellert's lost Obscurus having found a harbor in a Dumbledore phoenix until he could be reborn. Bestiary, however, thinks his birth may be even more direct. She wondered if it were possible, magically, for the two men to have birthed a child together. I believe alchemy, and Rowling herself in a very slyly planted clue, gives us the answer to this question. And the answer is yes, in the form of the legendary and alchemical homunculus. In Latin, homunculus means little man. They are perfectly shaped little people who traditionally are created fully formed. The idea existed in folklore, but was most prevalent in alchemy, where they were created in the lab. In fact, Paracelsus was perhaps the first alchemist to claim to have created a homunculus, though the concept existed earlier in writings attributed to Plato, as well as the Arab medieval alchemist Jabir ibn Haywan. You may remember Paracelsus from Order of the Phoenix. Nearly Headless Nick warned Harry that Peeves planned to drop a bust of the alchemist on the next person's head who passed down the corridor. Ouch! But I don't need to have a bust dropped on my head to pick up Rowling's next hint. She had a key clue to the existence of a homunculus very early in the screenplay with the chupacabra. In scene 2, she describes the baby chupacabra as part lizard, part homunculus, a blood-sucking creature of the Americas. I found this odd when I first read it because I never heard of a chupacabra as either lizard or homunculus. As Grindelwald tosses the beast out the coach window early on, it seems to serve a very limited purpose, and yet it has its own Funko. A couple of different recipes exist in history for how to create a homunculus, but they are all based on the male sperm rather than the female egg, which would be very fitting in the case of Albus and Gellert. With Paracelsus, he required that the fermenting sperm be placed in pregnant mare manure for 40 days and eventually inside a mare for 40 days. Perhaps it's no coincidence that the screenplay informs us that Albus and Gellert's blood pact takes place in a barn. So perhaps a mare was pregnant. Or perhaps, as Bestiary and I both agree, Rowling won't get that detailed. By whatever alchemical process Albus and Gellert may have created their homunculus, the process would seem to be unnatural. If you will remember in my last video, I showed how the reference to Macduff in Shakespeare's Macbeth could very well hint at an unnatural birth for Credence. In fact, when talking about Credence with his acolytes in scene 46, Grindelwald says, "The trail that will lead him to me, and the strange and glorious truth of who he is." Just being Dumbledore's brother would not be strange. So there's definitely something odd about his very existence. And glorious truth would definitely reflect Grindelwald's thoughts on his own creation. Grindelwald goes on to say, Credence is the only entity alive who can kill him. Entity, not person. The nature of Credence as a human created by these two young gods would open up so many themes and questions to be explored, some already touched on in the series: experimental breeding or eugenics, manipulation of matter via physics, cloning, and perhaps free will, but also the rights of same-sex couples to marry and have children. In fact, as Bestiary points out, it's possible that the blood pact is in fact a marriage between Albus and Gellert. We've seen that alchemy will be a strong part of the film series. We've explored the possibility that Flamel and Eulalie Hicks hint at an order of alchemists as the forerunner to the Order of the Phoenix, and the homunculus is based in alchemy. This image of the creation of a homunculus intrigues me greatly when linked to Credence. Notice that the child in the alembic is not only winged himself, but is surrounded by birds, who may be crows or phoenixes. He also holds a snake in one hand, and in his other, what appears to be a three-headed dragon, a symbol related to alchemy and released in the graveyard. Surrounding the alembic are spoked sun wheels that seem similar to the one we saw in the Lestrange family tree. And the child has golden hair, the golden one, Aurelius. In The Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosencreutz, an alchemical work from 1616 linked to the Rosicrucians, a secret society that Rowling has referenced before, the process of creating a homunculus is considered even more exalted than Chrysopeia, the work of creating the Philosopher's Stone. We've talked about Chrysopeia before in my video about Perenelle Flamel, who was considered very skilled in the alchemical work of transforming base metals into gold. However, creating humans is even more a godlike power. It is the creation of new life rather than transforming or extending what already existed. And, as we explored in the last video, we're seeing hints of godlike power already with Flamel and the Order of the Alchemists. Perhaps they exist like an ethics board to keep rogue alchemists like Gellert and Albus from creating human life and upsetting the balance of nature. If Credence is indeed a homunculus, the name Aurelius, meaning golden one, would be quite fitting for the alchemy experiment that may both define his beginning and his end. Aurelius Grindelwald Dumbledore would be the supreme work of a couple of godlike alchemists who, as he struggles with his identity, powers, and purpose, will transform from Black Crow, finally, to the golden phoenix of alchemy, Fawkes. Here are other clues linking Credence to a homunculus created by Albus and Gellert. As Bestiary says, Credence's adopted name as Barebone would seem oddly fitting for a lab-created, almost Frankenstein monster. Irma Dugard, who Credence first thought his biological mother, is a perfectly formed small person, a hint perhaps at his origins. Throughout the film, Grindelwald calls Credence "my boy" 3 times, in almost a paternal way. As a homunculus created from both men, Credence would be part Dumbledore, so would be able to call a phoenix in times of need, answering my doubt about the chick from the last video. Also, according to Wikipedia, Carl Jung equates the homunculus with the Philosopher's Stone and the inner person in parallel with Christ. I've seen several references in Credence as a Christ-like figure, which I'll cover more in a later video. And we know the Philosopher's Stone, especially with Flamel's present, will be key. My theory of Gellert's Obscurus may still play into this theory. It is possible that the Obscurus, separated from either Gellert when he found the love of Albus or Ariana at her death, though I still doubt she ever had one, would be present in that barn to attach itself to the fermenting homunculus awaiting its birth. If so, it's also probable that in the aftermath of the fight, neither Albus or Gellert were aware that their lab experiment had acquired an Obscurus. In the end, there must be something about the homunculus that makes him capable of killing Dumbledore. Perhaps, like Frankenstein's monster, he has superhuman powers even beyond that of the Obscurus. Indeed, many alchemists believe their creations would have certain superior strengths and abilities. Or perhaps Grindelwald believes Dumbledore would not fight against the son he created. Or could the blood pact they have made also involve protecting their homunculus? So many possibilities. Finally, how did Credence go from the barn to the ship? This is highly speculative, but I'm wondering if Aberforth will play a crucial role here. In the days, weeks, months after Gellert fled the scene following Ariana's death, might Aberforth have discovered the growing homunculus? Could he have told Albus it died or he destroyed it? As we discussed in the last video, the baby Credence in the shipwreck of 1901 would fit the timeline of a child conceived or created at the end of the summer of 1899. Could Aberforth have entrusted this child that he looked on in horror to his own aunt or one of his kind neighbor's sisters to remove as far away from Albus as possible? After all, Bathilda Bagshot would be Credence's aunt as well. I'd almost expect that Credence's aunt was Bathilda Bagshot if she hadn't drowned. Or did she? One problem with this theory: why is Credence not small in stature? I have a feeling that the answer to this involves Rowling's creativity. As usual, when Rowling brings in existing legends and myths, she transforms them to fit her own vision. I don't expect we'd hear the words homunculus ever used in relation to Credence. Rowling would most likely design her own form of alchemical magic for what Albus and Gellert did, but this is what she'd be drawing from. Thanks so much to Bestiary for partnering with me to flesh out this theory. We're very curious to see what you think. Are we crazy? Or do you think it possible Credence is the love child of Albus and Gellert, one created by the magic of alchemy?
Please share your thoughts in the comments. Also, please check out my new fan shop on Amazon for books and Funko Pops and wands and all things Fantastic Beasts.